Incremental routines. Here's my response to Wozniak video, cramming for an exam with SuperMemo. I think there's quite a large gap that it's missing. I think he takes this for granted. For instance, here, what's this? What is dismembered? Dismembering is actually an arcane feature and stuff like this that he does menus and so on, especially if you're new to SuperMemo or kind of unfamiliar. There is a lot happening that Wozniak doesn't actually mention, so I will cover this gap in this video. And as always, I will tag chapters, so if you know something, you're gonna skip right ahead. So it is more or less a high-level diagram of what is actually cramming, quote-unquote cramming in SuperMemo, that I like how Wozniak coined this as smart negligence. The smart you can be within cramming. Once you pass the exam, how you change your approach in SuperMemo, and actually later on the triage of what continues in your collection for life and what will become deleted. I have, by the way, this is in my website, Plausible Learning. I will link this picture in case you want. And I also added timestamps when it's meaningful. You have an obvious example of what I mentioned. So let's start. Yes, you can actually cram with SuperMemo even if it's not built in. And it actually goes against the nature of SuperMemo, of incremental reading. That doesn't mean you cannot actually use it for a cramming tool. It requires more knowledge how to use it, unlike Anki or other apps that perhaps they are actually meant for the school. Cool. So first and foremost is you should have a dedicated collection for exams. As Wozniak is using one, that is just a few days. So I have one exam, in this case is exam November 2nd. So it's one collection. So in Wozniak case, is one specific collection just for school exams. Not just one exam. I don't have enough information on this example, but I think he does one concept for each exam. Let's say that this is a history exam. So if he has a biology exam, he will create yet another concept. You can see here you have a concept history inside of exam. Cool. So first, you structure by deadline. So the name of the concept of the exam will include the deadline because that is a hard deadline. You have to process everything and do all of the maximum repetitions just before this deadline because this is the artificial need imposed by the school system. So what will happen is that once you are done, you passed the history exam, perhaps you will start the biology exam and so on. So instead of creating every time a brand new collection, you just create a concept in this collection. What's going to happen is that depends how you have the exams, you'll have no overlap. So once you're done with history, then you move this or what you choose to remember to keep. You will merge it to your own collection and delete the rest, or delete straight away the entire thing, and then you will do the other one, biology and so on. It may happen, like it was in my case, that it was always overlapping at some degree. So before I finished history, I already started biology. But for the sake of deadlines, they were so close to each other, the exams, right? So more or less is this flow. Then a big difference is that it's a test-based approach. So instead of importing the sources, instead of importing the source and I read and so on, I actually import the test question or multiple choice question, especially if you failed, like this example. So you want to know why you failed, but simply not necessarily, as long as you can give the correct answer, because in the test, a multiple choice question, you don't have to prove, to reason why you made that choice. It's just to make the choice. So as long as you keep the good answer, good enough. So then what you can do is this. You can ask the artificial intelligence, the large language models, like ChatGPT or Bing or some others, to actually provide this for you. It's, hey, I have a question here. So you could ask the artificial intelligence to answer this question for you. That's one way to approach it, and it will be for items. So then you will memorize, oh, this question, this answer. And the other approach is to actually ask concisely to explain stuff, to explain for the sake of understanding. Why it's D, right? Why didn't this year and so on, like he exemplifies. So this will become a topic that you will process in SuperMemo. So this is, let's say, content for the exam, but this is not from the school. It's not provided by the university, school, or institute, or whatever. And it's easy enough. So in that case, this is just for reinforcement. So I want to understand or to remember why it's this and the big points, right? So I can make some sense, because since I'm cramming, I will have more chaos in organization of knowledge and the learning curve and so on, because it's too smashed together too often. So you can do this for what you're failing or what's harder for you and so on. Cool. Then next point, that's a slight detail, is no image naming in registry 244. Oh, by the way, something I actually covered in that video is that when you paste images, like here, usually Control V or Shift Insert, you can paste the image, but what's likely to happen is that you are actually copying images with plenty of text. And when you do copy, and when you actually copy an image like this, SuperMemo compresses the quality. Lossy, it's a lossy process. So sometimes it's kind of blurry to read. So in case you don't know, so in case you want to keep the quality, you will select the image element, right click, link. It's one quick way to do it. Registry member, which opens a registry. You can also go by search and images, same effect, and then click here, add. So you will add a file on your computer, and then you will link it. Let's pretend it's this one, that I just added this, and then I will click insert, like this. So therefore, imagine this is, well, actually it's a kind of a good example, because I include text in the key and are handsy, so it's good enough. If I should have used copy and paste, it will be kind of more blurry. So it depends how important it is for you to actually read the text. If those are for test questions, multiple choice questions, it's likely you want to read the text. So bear this in mind. So you will need more options at the end of the day. You need to actually save the image in a file, not just copy it to the clipboard. Then you need to open the registry, add the image to the registry, then select it and insert it into the element. It's more laborious, but it's the only way in SuperMemo that you can keep the original resolution. Let's keep going. And the actual detail I wanted to share. Do you want to apply a similar template? This is usually, in this case, is because he started a brand new topic. Is that this topic has an article template. It's here. So now he's copying an image from the clipboard. Therefore, SuperMemo is asking, hey, there's no image component. Do you want to apply a similar template? One of the defaults, article picture. And now if you notice, the template is different. It's an article picture. Not only that, now you have image registry. What is this? Is that since it's an image, in SuperMemo, all of the images are from the registry, at least from the image components. You can have inline images in the HTML, but those images cannot be reused, are not seen by SuperMemo as images. What happens with Cramming or the smart Negligence SuperMemo? That you don't care. Usually here you would say a meaningful name if you want to reuse it. A map, a European map in the year 500, something like that. In this case, whatever. Child, the date, history, bam, bam, bam. You don't care because you are in a hurry. You have to process a lot of information with very few days. So whatever. And in case you keep it, and then you merge this collection to your main collection, then you can have meaningful names then. But after you have done the triage, not be that good of approach to name everything well enough. And then you don't want, turns out that half of the images are useless after you pass the exam. So that time is invested for almost no gain. Next is lazy closes, which yes, is kind of part of the incremental reading, but here it's taken to the extreme. So here Wozniak has asked the AI for 4 main points in this period of time in history. And usually what you will do is that if this comes up on your outstanding repetitions, you will do what's called one repetition, one action. This law, let's say law, is absolutely violated. It's not followed almost never. Why? Because you're in a rush. You cannot take this incrementally. I will take this tomorrow and in 2 days and so on. So if I have 4 bullet points, at the very least, I will do 4 repetitions. No, I have 5 days to cram for the exam. Processing this incrementally, it's a luxury I cannot afford. So what Wozniak is doing here is processing the entire text. Usually here, at least me, I will do an extract. Christianity faced opposition in persecution, pam. Okay, that's an idea already. And perhaps I will do more than one cloze here, cloze deletion. So I will make an extract and then process that extract and do the cloze deletion. No, you just straight away do the lazy cloze deletion. So an entire paragraph or some points that it's a blatant violation of atomicity, one action, one repetition, one action, incrementalism at the end of the day. So more or less, what he thinks needs to remember for the sake of the exam. You do all of this, once you're done, so you won't ever see this topic again in SuperMemo. It's one shot. Not only that, sometimes, actually it's not even outstanding, so you just import it from the clipboard and read it as a whole. So for SuperMemo, there's no repetition registered because you just imported that element and it has never been outstanding next day. Then what happens is that he's doing the repetitions, and look at that, that's an awful item. That's crap as an item. But what happens? You are in a hurry. You cannot afford enforcing the 20 rules of formulation. And why this is actually a good approach for smart negligence? Because this is the least amount of effort, the least amount of time you required, and everything, since it's cramming, you have a deadline coming, it's short term. So those bad items will become problematic when the interval grows, and too much text or too context depending. Well, that's not going to happen because you will have passed the exam by then. So then what you will do is only reformulate the items that are merged to your main collection. So when they pop out in your collection, in your repetitions, then you will take the regular approach and reformulate those items. But for now, cloze deletion, and perhaps sometimes, as you will see in the video, you delete one paragraph and so on, but absolutely careless. Here's one example. So at the very least here, there has been some reformulation, and it's about choosing 2 options. Asemantic rate lost or recovered. So yeah, it's lazy, that doesn't mean it's nothing. You still will do some reformulation here and there. Here you have one example that this topic, it's like 2 paragraphs. That's way too much information. The opposite of atomicity. And in this case, is you just get rid of one of 5 lines or whatever. It's not needed to answer the question at all. Even though you still have plenty of information not required to recall the information. But bro, you're in a hurry. You have to do hundreds of items per day while you still process tons of topics. It is what it is. Another detail is that the answer, the HTML component of the answer, it's occluding part of the image when it's shown in the answer time. You don't care. Oh yeah, the templates kind of look odd in the sense that it could be improved. Whatever, bro. Unless I can read the text, I keep going. I won't spend time on fine-tuning the templates. I will prioritize processing the information and recall the items short term. Everything else, I will do it later. Once I merge what I want to keep in my main collection. At this point, what Wozniak says is, so yeah, partition of Poland, Russia, Prussia, and Badapam, Austria. So he's not actually reading the question, or even that's like 3 bullet points from artificial intelligence. So this is only useful very short term and just for cramming. It's what is called asemantic. Oh, I know when there's a question that it's just neighborhoods, Russia, Prussia, Austria. I don't do reasoning. I just memorize the order of those 3 countries. So I take the shortcut that when I see this question, oh, Russia, Prussia, Austria. If Austria is there and I have the second deletion, Russia, close deletion, Austria. Oh yeah, I know it's Prussia. Actually, it's very ironic because the Prussian system comes from Prussia, yes, that's obvious, but it's where the school as how we know it today comes from, the origin. All of the damage, all of the cramming, all of the harm origins from here. Then what happens that even if you do all of the repetitions every single day, I'm so short term that it's not enough. I cannot follow what SuperMemo is scheduling to the future. So what I will do is that first, I will always do the final drill. So everything I rate 1 or 2, which is failure, all of the items I fail, or even 3, that is hazy recall, will be in the final drill. And I will do the final drill. That means repetitions of the same items that I have done today or yesterday, which it's something you cannot do usually in SuperMemo. Have more than 1 repetition on the same day. Unless you use the final drill or you cheat your way out of doing so, that is precisely add to outstanding and so on. You want to artificiate the exposure to those items because you want to really quickly get a high retention rate, which this is only makes sense very short term. Is you cannot manage this for long. And for instance, another thing, before I said about the templates that he doesn't care because you want to, as a crammer, you want to go quick and move on. Look, even here, you have the link to YouTube, so you don't properly do the metadata of the author, the source, title. You just paste the link and move on. In case you have to check this into featured, oh, there's a mistake that doesn't make sense. Oh, this is taken from there, let me check it out. And you move on. You will do this properly if you care later on with no deadlines after you have passed the exam or you even graduated and it's in your collection. One detail is that you can sort by interval because whatever goes more to the feature, it will be more prone to never be seen again unless you cheat your way out. And look, how many screenshots, how many same names because he's duplicating items. This is very low quality incremental reading. But those are shortcuts for the sake of maximizing the information processed in the same time period. Oh, one detail, image extracts. This can be useful. So it's I would say it's even optional. So what happens when you do this strategy? So instead of going question by question, you take all of the questions or whatever can fit in your screen, and then you do the image extracts, where there is a subtle difference if you do that. That more or less we could say those items or elements will be siblings. What I mean by that? That they are sharing the source image. So if I go to the image registry, let's actually do this in my collection. Okay, it's a related example. I cannot find the one I wanted, but basically there's an image. So I can go as a image registry member, and I can see, hey, it's used in 22 different places, and I list it. So you can see in other items that this is being used, right? And then I can create, if I want, a browser. So I open this in the browser and do a subset review, out to outstanding, or any combination I want. So this is the same. So then I know that those images, actually image extracts of the same image, are related, are from the same, coming from one source, the same entity. In this case, are multiple choice questions coming from the same test. How this can be useful, or a use case is, well, if I fill one, like exercise 8, I could very easy do the repetitions on all of the exercises of the same test as a reinforcement, as a mock example of the simulating the exercise, and detect if I'm failing other things related to the same question, or it's one isolated case that I forgot or whatever. So at the end of the day, it's more or less the same result, but there's also some pros of doing this. Even though, if you ask me, it's slight overkill, because at least in this case, the questions are quite standalone. It is useful. In my case, I had subjects like this in the STEM that you have some information of one case and then follow-up questions. So all of the questions are related to the previous one and stuff like this. So then in that case, it's useful. But the standalone, oh, what is this building? Or what year, about the king, or about one law. There's no. Yeah, it's the same theme, but I don't require to read the previous question in order to answer this. So unless you have this, I won't do it. It's too much effort. But just to let you know this detail that he doesn't mention. And prioritize new topics over outstanding items. Why you want that, right? Oh, come on, I'm still falling behind the schedule. I have hundreds of outstanding items. How come instead of doing those items, I will cheat the outstanding queue and still add more topics to do, especially the unprocessed topics, meaning no repetition yet, before I keep doing the repetitions, because I have a deadline. I don't want to memorize 20% of the material and neglect the rest. What I want is to first process everything I need. Then, of everything I have processed, do the flashcards so I can remember and recall this during the exam. So first I have to guarantee that all the information is guaranteed to be processed. Therefore, that means topics. I have to read all of the topics before the hard deadline of the exam, because I will need some days to actually do the repetitions of the items. It doesn't work if I spend reading topics until the very last day, because I won't have enough thought process to recall that information. So yes, you can actually do everything, but keep in mind, SuperMemo is not meant to be used that way, even if you can. It relies on manual input from the user to overrule many things, and the consequences of those actions, you need to be aware of those. It's not that, oh, I will install SuperMemo for the first time. I will ask, hey, how I use SuperMemo for the sake of cramming? Now let me try. You won't have the best experience. At least in my opinion, you still need to get familiar with incremental reading, how it's meant to be used, the pros and cons, and then the implementation of SuperMemo, all of the caveats, limitations, which there are many. And when you have this more or less enough proficiency, then you do SuperMemo and smart negligence cramming. If you go ahead of the smart negligence without understanding incremental reading for genuine, I think the experience won't be optimal. And it could even mislead you for understanding what incremental reading is once you graduate. Yeah, I actually forgot. Yeah, one funny case. You can ask the artificial intelligence, and what he mentions at 5:32 is very ironic. Oh, sorry, it's 4. That's a typo. It's 4:32. You can ask pronunciation in Google Translate. There are better options. I could say it's the best one for free, but you can use, for instance, Whisper AI or any other paid options, including Google. But it's very ironic, because this will be only, I think, I will only do this if the exam you have it's an oral exam. Because sometimes proper names like this king and so on, it's not that obvious how it's pronounced. At least in English, the spelling is not always followed. There are patterns, but there are no rules that they follow 100%, like Spanish. Most of the time, how it is written, how it's pronounced, That's not true in English. So you actually need to check if you really want how it's actually pronounced, in case you're not familiar with that name. And what happens is that just after Wozniak mentions this example, he actually mispronounces one name. So for instance, Emperor Constantine, and Wozniak says Constantine. Yeah, well, I do mistakes like this, and in this version video, I will have done multiple mistakes as well. But hey, since it's an exam and it's about history, so that's a big name. It will appear in the content of the exam. If it's oral exam, you will really want to actually pronounce it right. Yeah, if you attend class, it's very likely that the teacher will pronounce this. So you should say, oh, it's Constantine, not Constantine, as I thought, right? But if it's like in this case, it's an online school, I am guessing no one is pronouncing this because there are no lectures, even if we had recorded lectures in the video. So it's not that obvious how this is meant to be pronounced. In case you really need or you really care, you're going to spend some time and then you do the flashcard how to pronounce this name. In case it's just written, and if it's cramming, you will do that later in case you want to keep it in your collection. Oh, finally, all the cramming, it's done and I passed the exam. What I do now? Well, you do the triage based on value. Do I want to keep this or do I want to get rid of that? There are many ways you can do it. You can do the spread, so you have just you just have a few repetitions scheduled every day because you are no longer in a hurry. This can take as long as needed, even if it's more than a year. No worries. You no longer have a deadline pressing, so you will adjust this based on priority. If it happens that you really care about history, regardless of the exam, it's your jam, then it will be high priority. You will do lots of items. If you really don't care, or you care just about the specifics, I will do subset reviews. I select a branch, or like this, pam pam pam, or as I did, not in SuperMemo, but when I did in the school system with Anki, I had decks. So the decks will be more or less branches without the text, just the flashcards. And I will mass delete. It's I passed the course, the exam, and therefore the course, I delete the deck. I'm an expert on that. It's not something that I should be proud of bragging, because it's just how many hours I have spent, countless hours, I have spent creating flashcards, manual flashcards, for things I didn't care. During repetitions, that were killing, that were super boring, so dreadful to do them. And then when you pass the exam, you have to get rid of them, all of the effort, all of the harmful, all of the pain I have endured to lead all of this stuff. It's painful. And sadly, I can say I don't know how many flashcards I deleted, because I deleted over the years, not in one single batch. I know that I'm speaking in the tens of thousands or some year spans. So I won't be surprised if I had deleted more than 100,000 flashcards. I'm pretty sure I did. And because since they're short term, I don't do that many repetitions. Yes, I do a lot of repetitions in a short period of time, some weeks, but after that, there's no more repetitions because it's deleted, right? So what they have in Anki is what is called a ghost review. That these are reviews in your collection from a card that doesn't exist in your collection. So therefore, are reviews of deleted flashcards. And sadly, I can say that I have worth. So I deleted, I don't know how many thousands of flashcards, but they were worth 1.6 million repetitions. 1,600,000 repetitions, reviews, done on flashcards I created myself, that their lifespan were counted in weeks. And as soon as I did them, I don't want to keep it. Sorry for going personal, but I need to say that because it's too painful. Some sort of therapy. Then you do this triage by value, so therefore you delete what you don't care, what was just meant to be for the exam, and that's it. An incremental thing for life, that, oh yeah, it was for the exam, but now that I have learned it, I actually want to keep it. So, in other words, if I had no exam, I will still want to learn all of this. Therefore, I will keep it. Then there are still more details, like I mentioned at the start of this video about the dismembering and so on. I will cover this in a standalone video as a tutorial. Hey, how to dismember and when it's useful and so on instead of a response. And I'm pretty sure, based on the recording time, so I think it's good enough for an answer. Nothing more to add today, and see you incrementally.